A very good evening to all of you. I welcome you all to session number 9 of ICF Travels series Break Free. Today's speaker is Mr. Vikram Chaudhary from Financial Express. He is a features writer, avid traveler, photographer, and he's into a lot of other things. And he was part of a 11-member team that went to Everest Base Camp from the China side, and he will tell us more about that also. But today's talk will basically focus on his journey to the Himalayas in Uttarakhand, which I think he took during the lockdown or after the lockdown. So over to you, Vikram. You can give us a brief intro and then you can start the presentation.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Vivek, and hello, everyone, all the participants today. My name is Vikram Chaudhary, working with the Financial Express, and
Vikram, we can't hear you.
uh, yeah, Am I audible now? Better? No?
Yeah, you're audible. My side. My side, you're audible.
Okay.
That.
No, uh,
For me also you are audible.
okay, perfect. Thank you. So, can I speak, Vivek? You can't hear me.
No, Vikram, we are not able to hear you.
Can you hear others?
Others have not spoken as yet, so I don't know.
I
can hear him actually. I can hear what's his name, Vivek. While your thing,
Hello.
sometimes it's coming very clearly, and sometimes it's sort of disappearing.
Okay.
Divya, can you confirm whether you are able to hear Vikram? Because I am not able to hear him.
Yeah, Divya can hear me.
Yes, sir. I can hear. I can hear Vikram. I can hear you as well. Everyone.
Yeah, this time I also heard Vikram.
Not able to hear. I don't know whether that's a problem at my end.
Can you check your? But how can you hear me if you can't even get my advice if you can't hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, no, I was trying to tell something to Vivek. But,
Hello.
G, can you hear
Yes.
me now?
Yes, Vikram, it's fine. I don't know what went wrong suddenly.
Okay, no problem, no problem. Yeah, so I was telling a bit about myself. I've been writing for the Financial Express newspaper for about 13 years now, and even before that, and during all my job, during all my career, I would say that I've been traveling a lot. Fortunate enough to do that in search of stories and so on. But at times, my travels have taken me to some unique places. Uh, I think I've covered a lot of road trips across the world. Uh, the most ride to the ride to Rongbuk. Rongbuk is the world's highest monastery on the north face of the Mount Everest. You have to go via China, Tibet. So I was part of Royal Enfield group who went from Kathmandu, entered Tibet, and over 11 days we rode a motorcycle. We went to the Mount Everest base camp and came back via the same road. Other trips I've done some nice trips, I would say. For example, I've done the garden route. The garden route is from Cape Town to Durban. I've done the California 101, which is San Francisco to Los Angeles, the road right next to the ocean. I've done New York to Niagara Falls. I've done Barcelona to Valencia. So all these have been road trips. All these have been I've been driving cars or riding motorcycles on all these trips. But some of the most beautiful trips I have done in India. One of the reasons is that I obviously got a more opportunity to travel within India. So because it's more convenient. So Today, I would like to share one unique trip which I did in December. So, the one interesting part about that trip was that there was no planning involved. There was absolutely no planning. It's just that I just it was just, I think, mid-December. I thought I had a motorcycle with me, a Royal Enfield Interceptor. It's a city bike. It's not really a mountain bike. So I asked these Royal Enfield people. They said that this bike I can keep for another 15 days. It was with me for review. So I thought, let's take it somewhere. But I didn't know where to go. So I just planned, and I saw, roads in Uttarakhand are nice. So Uttarakhand is obviously divided in two parts. Garhwal is the northern part, and Kumaon is the southern part. And Kumaon is relatively, there are not many tourists out there. So I thought, let's go to Kumaon. So I checked the hotels. All the hotels were empty. There were no tourists coming. Obviously, tourists had started going to nearby areas such as Nainital and Mussoorie and all. But deep into Kumaon, when you go to, let's say, Munsiari, which is near the Nanda Devi peak. So when you go those places, there was absolutely nobody going there. And when I talked to hotel guys and homestays also, so they said that they really want tourists to come because that is their only source of income. So I thought that that is a good thing. I mean, I have not spent a lot of money anyway over the last like six odd months. I was sitting at home, not splurging anywhere. So I thought, let me, in a very small way, support them. One person cannot support obviously a economy of a state, but I thought, let me just do something. So I just thought that, okay, let me just start. The good thing about me was I was fit enough. I've been fit enough. I've been jogging and eating healthy food and so on. So I've been fit enough all my life, I would say. I mean, touch wood. So uh, I just got a riding jacket, a nice helmet, and a bag which I could tie on the rear seat of the motorcycle, and I just left. So it was so this route, obviously, I mean, if you're aware of the area, it takes you from Delhi to Muradabad to Rudrapur, and then on to Nainital, and that is the route, right? So, and that time also, that Delhi was, on the borders of Delhi, there were farmers protesting. So I was wondering whether I'll be able to get out of Delhi or not. So anyway, it was just one. I think it was in 18th of December. I just thought that, okay, let me just leave. So it was early morning, around 6 o'clock. I had just returned from jogging, and I told my family that, okay, I'm going for a few days, and just got my stuff, and just started. I didn't have obviously any hotel bookings, anything. So I just started. Getting out of Delhi was a breeze, because the farmers are protesting on the roads which enter into Delhi, not the roads which go out of Delhi. So getting out of Delhi was a breeze, and more important than that, it was the feeling of freedom. I had not ventured out anywhere for about 6 months, so it was that feeling of freedom, especially when I would say that I am a bit biased towards two wheelers, because that air in your face and so on. So it gives you more feeling of a freedom rather than a closed space such as a car. So then I just and also I had not eaten out for like 6-7 months. So I really wanted to go to those roadside dhabas and all, have tea, have parathas, these kind of things. I mean, these are like little joys of life, talking to those anybody who's out there. And one thing of traveling, one good thing about traveling alone is, like, my friends ask me, like, why do you travel alone? Don't you get bored? So I've always replied that whenever I travel alone, I meet new friends. You meet new friends everywhere, every city, every place you stop, everywhere you meet new friends. Because if you're not traveling alone, if you're with someone, you'll always be with that guy only, no? With that guy, or that person with whom you started. So then my road trip started, obviously, and it was cold, and soon, as I think I was riding for about 5 hours. I'd crossed Muradabad. I was entering the area around the southern fringe of the Corbett National Park, and I did realize that I've done a mistake. I while I was wearing a riding jacket, I was not wearing anything under it. And riding a two-wheeler at 80 kilometers per hour, the wind blast is so strong that as soon as the sun started setting, I mean it will not set, but because in winters in northern India the sun is like the intensity goes very low. So at about 3:30 or 4, I started shivering. I thought I need to stop. So my first plan was to directly go to Nainital from Delhi in one day, but I could not. So then I thought, okay, let me stop. So the first stop I took was, just by around 7 o'clock, I'd reached a place called Rudrapur. It's an industrial city. So the first stop was there. So I'll just start my screen sharing if you're okay. It's Yes. So, obviously I've written that, while a lot of riders do group rides and sometimes curated ones, I'd gotten tired of lockdown, decided just head out. Okay. So I've written that the ride took me near the China border. That was not the plan. It just happened. So then when I reached Rudrapur, and then the hotel was empty. I went there. I talked to the hotel guy. I asked him where should I go. So he said that okay, go to Munsiari, and he said how many days you have. So I said I have unlimited days because I was carrying my small laptop, so I could work from anywhere. That is another good thing about working from home is like if you're working from anywhere. So I could work from anywhere as far as there was internet connectivity, and because of Jio and Airtel and so many things, there is internet connectivity everywhere nowadays, all cities at least. So this is the route I took. So the map is a little small, but I'll just tell you, this point is Rudrapur. So I was to go to Nainital. I could not reach Nainital. So Rudrapur se I just started, and he told me go to Mukteshwar, Kausani, Munsiari, and come back via Pithoragarh. So this exactly is the entire Kumaon region. This is the only national highway in Kumaon. So this round thing which I'm showing you. So the next morning I started from Rudrapur, and by that time obviously I'd because all my inners which were in my bag, I like now because I knew I was entering the Himalayas, so I had to wear well and all. So then I got into the right riding gear, and then I just started off from Rudrapur to my first point was Kausani. But everyone said that, okay, go to Mukteshwar. It's a very beautiful place. So I thought that, okay, I did not want to go to Nainital because Nainital has gotten very, very crowded. Unfortunately, the infrastructure development has not been able to keep pace with the economic development of many, the lower Himalayan hill stations we have, which include Shimla and Nainital and Mussoorie and even Almora. All these places, the infrastructure development hasn't been able to keep pace with the economic development and the influx of tourists and even the local growth of population. And another thing about this area is that a lot of between this area Rudrapur to Haldwani, it's kind of an industrial belt. So that industrial belt means a lot of new people are coming here, which is a good thing, like because they are adding to economic growth and jobs are being generated and all. But again, infrastructure development is not that it is not commensurate to the economic growth of that area. So I thought I'll skip Nainital. So this was the route I broadly took: Rudrapur to Haldwani to Mukteshwar to Kausani, then Munsiari and via Pithoragarh. So this was my the first true Rudrapur to Kausani. I think it's about 180 odd kilometers. So, but in the hills, you obviously you don't ride fast, and anywhere you go, when you're doing a riding for leisure, you don't really ride fast, or drive fast. You don't reach your destination. That is not the point. So I knew that it's 180 kilometers. If I go non-stop, I might do it in 4 hours. But I gave myself like, I'll do it in about 10 to 11 hours. So which means stopping at places wherever I want to stop, sitting wherever I want to sit. There's no traffic, absolutely no traffic, because there are no tourists around and locals also not moving much. So I could just be anywhere, I could just be at home, sitting on the side of the road on my motorcycle, having tea at a roadside dhaba, any village, any place. That was the whole plan. So then I started from Rudrapur early at about 8 o'clock and planned to reach Kausani around 7 in the evening. Uh, so this is, if you can see this, these are the kind of roads which I encountered. This is somewhere between Mukteshwar and Kausani. Uh, so, as you, I think the the overall area starts to get more and more scenic once you cross Bhimtal. Uh, and it's, as you can see, like I had stopped at this place for about half an hour. There was a river flowing on the right side of the road. I parked my motorcycle here. My bag is tied here. I parked my motorcycle. I went down the river and I sat there for about 15-20 minutes. Then I came back. There was no traffic. No, I could not hear any traffic. No, nothing. That was the beauty about this area. Then I'll show you another. So again, this, and the another good part is that in lower Himalayas, roads are extremely good. But as you go, deeper and deeper into Himalayas, you start finding like a lot of landslides, poor roads, little maintenance, and there's reason for that. One of the reasons the geologists say is that because Himalayas are the youngest fold mountains in the world, they are like still growing, right? So as you go upper towards the Himalayas, what happens is that because they're still growing, so they have not really settled down. They might take another million years to settle down, right? So that's why any kind of little bit of rain, snow, even strong winds and all, they lead to small landslides and so on. And obviously, another reason is that um, taking heavy machines high up in the Himalayas, it's difficult. Although I saw there were like at least every few kilometers there's a JCB machine and all which is parked there because there could be landslides anywhere. And I'm talking about, this is not a rainy season. You can well imagine what happens in the rainy season. This is not the rainy season. So anyway, I reached Kausani, and so reached Kausani. I stayed for a couple of days there, and then I thought that okay, now I have to go to Munsiari. I've never been to Munsiari. Munsiari is probably the farthest point in Kumaon towards China border on a metalled road, I would say, because obviously after that you can walk towards the China border, but there are no metal roads. There are kacha roads, but no metal roads. So and as you go deeper and deeper into the Himalayas, one thing happens is that it becomes very clear. So that will be clear in the next photo. Now look at the sky here. So now this is about 10 hours of riding from Kausani towards Munsiari. So this photograph I took, it was beyond Munsiari also. So it's a kind of Australia map kind of thing in between, because I study the world, so it appears to me like that map kind of thing. But it's obviously a cloud play, and the peaks which you see in the center, that peak is Panchchuli. So it's basically 5 peaks. So this is Panchchuli, the highest, exactly in the center. This 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So these 5 peaks are called Panchchuli. They are about 6,900 meters high. So, I've always maintained this thing that the farther you go from civilization, the cleaner the environment gets, because unfortunately, humanity does destroy the environment wherever it goes. And obviously, I mean, even I'm also part of it. I mean, because if I'm going somewhere, let's say I'm not throwing garbage somewhere, if I'm not throwing garbage, but I'm leaving some kind of carbon footprint at least out there. So but anyway, coming back to this part, so I thought that I need to see these peaks, this Panchachuli peak as close as possible. So I reached that hotel in Munsiari, and that hotel was, there were about 20 rooms in that hotel, and I was the only guest. Uh, so the hotel guys were so happy to see me, and they gave me complimentary tea and coffee and so on. So I said, no, I can contribute to your salaries and everything. So I stayed in that hotel, and then he told me that there's a route which goes to Khalia Top. So Khalia Top it's a trek. So Munsiari's height is about 2,200 meters above sea level, and Khalia Top is, I think, about 3,400 or something meters above sea level, which is the same as that of, let's say, Leh in Ladakh. So it's quite high, and it had just snowed in Munsiari like 3 or 4 days ago. So he said that if you're fit enough, you can do that day-long trek to Khalia Top, and from there you really get to see up close and personal with these peaks. So I said, okay. So the next day, again, without any planning, I just got into my jacket and I started walking towards Khalia Top. So this is when you reach on the top of that Khalia Top area. So top is obviously because it's on the top of that place. And from here, if you can see, the view of the Panchachuli is very different from what was in Munsiari. So I'll go back. This was from Munsiari, so this is Panchachuli, and this is the view from here. But to get to this view, I wouldn't say it was easy. It was about 8-kilometer uphill trek, and all in the snow. So now this kind of soft snow is okay, but there in the hills, if you've traveled, there are places where no sun comes. So there the snow turns into ice. That becomes very slippery. So, and I would just, because I've trekked a lot in my life, I would just share my experience that whenever you have to trek, because I've seen that when people climb up, they go very fast. That is the main thing, that, you jaldi pahunchna, like, we have to reach there early. That is not the thing to do. So everyone said that, that trek, go fast and you'll do it in like, 2 hours. So I said, no, that is not the point. You have to go very, very slow, because if you go fast, you'll cover like, let's say, half a kilometer, and then you'll sit for another half an hour. So that is not the way to go. So I took like, baby steps. Those 8 kilometers took me about 4 hours. 4 hours, obviously, constant baby steps, and that's where I reached. Now, this area which you see, this is a bugyal. Bugyal is a local word for grasslands. Like Oli is a bugyal. Oli, the ski slopes are there, bugyal, and then there are many other. Chopta is a bugyal in Uttarakhand, and then there's a famous bugyal called Bayara Bugyal, which is near Kedarnath. I think beyond Kedarnath, somewhere between Kedarnath and Gangotri. So bugyal is a grassland. So grassland, it's like, it happens in the higher Himalayas, and in winters, it turns into like kind of ski slopes. Like, not at every bugyal people come to ski, because, skiing requires a lot of equipment. So, but, this is an empty bugyal. So this is Khalia Top bugyal. So I'll show you another photo of this. Wait, so this is, so this is like, fresh snowfall. So this is like, and if you can see this area, this is the Nanda Devi peak. This is, I think, the highest peak in Uttarakhand, the highest peak in this part of the Himalayas. So what I'm showing you is this bugyal, and it seems a little small in this photo, but it's not really small. It's like, behind this, there were like, at least 2 or 3 or 4, maybe 4 or 5 kilometers of snow out here. But one thing I would just show you before this, and this is this. Now, where I was staying, so this was the temperature. People say that, okay, Delhi is like very cold and so on. So this was the temperature, minus 10 degrees. So this is a screenshot of my phone, and if you can see that, so this I had woken up at 2 a.m. in the night. So this was a minus 10-degree temperature, and then it, like 2 a.m. it's minus 10, that's minus 11, minus 12, minus 13, minus 12, and so on. And the next day, it was a Tuesday, and the next day, Wednesday temperature, it was showing the minimum was minus 14 and the maximum was minus 4, maximum. So I remember that the hotel which I was staying in, one day I couldn't take bath because he said that the pipelines are frozen. So I mean that's how people live there. So I mean that's obviously still a hotel, so they have solar heaters and so on, so they can do that. But I was just wondering, the people who live there who don't really have all those amenities, and I mean they obviously use a lot of wood fire, and but so how do these guys manage? But I would also say that it gets cold, but it's not that kind of cold, because usually it's not windy in this part of the year. So so it's like a bearable kind of cold. There's no wind chill. And I would also if all the valleys in Himalayas, if you see that so I'll just do some hand action. So a valley is like this, and I have realized that in the deepest parts of the Himalayas, the valley, the lower point, is colder than the top of the hill. Now, why is this so? It's simple physics that hot air rises up. So when this sun, so this part heats up. So the hot air, because it's light, it rises up, and the cold air from the top of the Himalayas, the top of the hills, it goes down. It settles down. So at night, the valleys are extremely, extremely cold. So this is also a valley, Ralam. So so these are the kind of experiences I did, because one day I stayed with my friend in a tent. So that tent was on a top of a mountain. So I felt comfortable there. And the second day, when I stayed in a valley which is lower down, so lower down has to be warmer, it was colder. It was the other way around. So then there was a local professor I met. He said that he gave me this reasoning that hot air rises up and cold air settles down, so these valleys can get extremely cold. And yeah, another view of the Bugyal. So if you can see, there are two people out here, and so it's like endless kind of thing. So if you have obviously ski equipment, you can ski. So, and in summers, these Bugyals turn into beautiful floral gardens. So like the Valley of Flowers, this is so this is obviously a small Bugyal. So Valley of Flowers is a huge, massive Bugyal. So that's why because in the winters, Valley of Flowers is also like this, but in the summers it turns into a beautiful valley. And so this was the photo I got. I clicked myself because there was nobody at that Khalia top place to click me. So I kept a phone between two stones and set a timer, and it was difficult to take this shot, because whenever I used to keep a phone on this stone, and I set a 10-second timer and I ran to this place to just stand here to get into a pose. It was windy on top, and the phone used to fall down. So it took me like fifth or sixth attempt to get this photo right. So I think it's quite a high elevation, because it's a little over Khalia top also, and these peaks which you see, these peaks, so they are like 6,900 meters. Obviously, I am not as high. I must be somewhere around this high. So this is under 4,000 meters for sure, but it was quite high in terms of elevation, and it was very, very clean. Another thing, I'll just tell you this thing. I also saw, because behind this peak, behind this peak is the China border, and all the time when I was here, I could see Indian Army helicopters flying every 5 minutes, doing a recce from here. So here, somewhere here is Munsiari, deep down. So there's a helipad. So they used to fly from here, do a recce, come back, go down, and then by the time this helicopter is landing here, another is flying there. And then when I asked a local, they said that because of the India-China border problem, obviously there's no border problem in Uttarakhand area, but they are constantly, doing every 10-15 minutes, they are doing a recce, just and they're also flying drones out there. So anyway, I mean, that's an aside. So this obviously a photo I cherish. It was because to take this photo, I think because if I do my entire trek experience and going up and down and everything, I think it was about 10 hours. So, and 10 hours difficult, very difficult trek for this one photo. So, I mean, that's that. I mean, I don't know whether somebody thinks it's an achievement or not, but at times it. I mean, these simple pleasures of life do. I'll never forget this site. That is the thing. Like, I'm working in office every day. I'm working at home every day. I forget what I do. I mean, if you ask me what was I doing last Wednesday, I don't even remember. But this 50 years later, I'll remember the view. I'll remember the howling noise of the wind, howling sound of the wind. I'll remember this view. It'll never ever fade away. So that is the beauty about traveling. Some things just never fade away. If somebody asks you, what were you doing last Friday, you won't even remember. But this is, you will always. And yeah, I mean, this was a motorcycle, and again, so this Panchachuli peak, I was near the Panchachuli peaks, and so in the sunset, during sunset, they turn yellow. So sun rises somewhere from here, and it sets somewhere behind the motorcycle. So it was just, and for this photo also, obviously, because somebody told me that there's a nice sunset point. So this was the sunset point. So, and I just, and what happens is, like, humans are like social animals, obviously. But if there's no other human around, you can fall, fall in love with anything you have. So I was on this motorcycle for like 7-8 days. So it was my only companion. So I thought, I need to do justice to the motorcycle also. You fall in love with your vehicle. You fall in love with. I mean, only because of this I got here. So. Yeah, and so then while coming back from Munsiari, I thought I'll take the Pithoragarh route, and you get to see things like this, a waterfall over the road, and it doesn't really wet you because you ride from here, but it's a waterfall over the road. You don't really get to see it at most places, and I even saw a bus coming from here, and there's just, locals are just walking down and everything. So it's beautiful. And yes, these are the landslides. So I asked, so here I was forced to stop for about 1 hour. So I asked that what happened. So this guy said that these landslides had started in August and September due to the rain. But so what happens is that when the rain, let's say, falls here, it seeps down into the mountain. So this area becomes very, very soft. So if, let's say, even 5 months later, there's very, very light rain. So rain is obviously water. Water is weight. If there's water here, it goes here because of that weight. The base, it gives way. So when the base gives way, that's why the landslides happen even in December, January, March, April, all the year round, because the massive water which had seeped in August and September monsoons, it'll make it soft. So landslides are, I think they'll happen for another million years in this area. So anyway, I mean, this is obviously, this slows you down, and this also made me realize that you need to better plan some things. While I went at a time when I did not have to do any hotel bookings and all, but for example, if I had done hotel bookings, and that can be a bad experience for a traveler, like, I'd done a hotel booking for a particular place, and I'm not able to reach that place because of landslide. So, you need to plan in advance. So that is one learning for me. And Yeah. So this is Banbasa. So Banbasa, if I go back to my map slide, yeah, yes, here. So this is I started here. The Mukteshwar, Kausani, Munsiari, Pithoragarh, and this, if you can read, it's Bhimdatta, and right next here is Banbasa. It's India-Nepal border. So uh, Banbasa, this is a missionary school, and that's me wearing a helmet. This is my friend Clifton Shipway, who had gone with me to the Mount Everest base camp ride. He's a photographer and he also runs a school. So Royal Enfield, takes him because he does photography for them in his free time. So now it's a very beautiful thing. It's an amazing story. Now this is his father. I forgot his name. He is an Australian. He had come to India, I think many years ago, and he loved the place and he settled down here. So then. It's a long story. Somehow they settled down in Banbasa, and so this school was already running, and they took control of the school. And now about more than 1,000 kids study there, and it runs on donation. It's an NGO. It runs on donation, and it also accepts kids who are, let's say, who are orphans. So this my friend Clifton tells me that. I think there are more than 100 orphan kids who live with them in this area. So, I mean, this is a huge area. I mean, I think must be about 50, 100 acres. So there's a hostel, there's a school, and these are the kids. So these kids are those kids who don't even know who their parents are. So when I asked Clifton, he said that most of the kids are brought to their NGO by policemen. That okay, this small kid, like say, 2-month-old kid was found on the side of the road. This also happens. Then some people, I don't know how it happens, but some people leave kids in the buses, and whom they don't really want. And he said a lot of them are girls and a lot of them are boys also. And so they accept these kids. And fortunately for them, because they have some, they're running their NGO very well. So fortunately for them, they've been getting good donations to run this place. So Clifton with his father and his entire family runs this place. So I lived with him for a couple of days. This was my last leg of the road trip, and so this was around Christmas, and I thought I'll teach the kids. The kids said no, we want to play, so I played cricket with them out here. And well, that's it. From here, I took my ride back to Delhi, and that's me. When I reached Delhi, I gave the motorcycle away, and I took a car and just started driving. So that's me here again. So it was like unplanned trip and just happened, and I'm very happy that it happened, and it also opens up another opportunity for another trip which I'm planning unplanned again next month in February. I'm doing it. So thank you so much for listening to me.
Yeah, thanks, Vikram. Very interesting journey. And we have a previous sessions presenter with us, Mr. Dhruv Bogra, who went on a 400-day journey on a bicycle from the Arctic to the Andes.
Oh, wow.
And he has written 2 books, and he has a question about the roads, the condition of roads in the area where you went.
Okay.
Because he's planning to go there. Dhruv, maybe you can unmute yourself and explain more about the query.
Yeah, just a second. Hi, Vikram. Thanks a lot for your presentation. I'm in a bit of a noisy place. It's a park out in Delhi. But yes, in fact, I was trying to take a 4-5 day trip this January itself, but I kind of postponed it. And I was wondering how the roads are between Raniket and Munsiari at this time of the year. or when was the last time you went there?
So I went obviously just about 4 weeks ago.
Yes,
So roads
correct.
should be the same. Uh, till Ranikhet and Mukteshwar and this part the roads are good. There's no problem.
Yes,
Roads start going bad only beyond Mukteshwar when you go to Kausani, and
okay,
even till Almora the roads are good. I think the road because a couple of years ago I'd gone from Ranikhet to Corbett. That is a very amazing road.
yes,
I don't
from
know
the back.
how.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've
I
been
mean,
there. Yeah,
oh yeah,
the Ramnagar road.
yes. That's a
It's a bit
beautiful road.
risky. It's very
I mean,
narrow.
yeah, but
Yeah.
otherwise, if you stick to national highways, it's all fine.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
And were you able to go to Mana Pass also from
No,
Munchari? Or?
Manapas, because it's winters, so it's closed, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, and it requires obviously a lot of planning. And my trip
Yes.
was just unplanned. I mean, I just woke up one day and I
Yeah.
thought I have to go.
Correct. So I've been wanting to cycle from Ranikhet to Munchari for some time, make it a 3 4 day trip.
Ranikhet to
So seeing
Mundhari,
your
good.
pictures, yeah, seeing your
Okay.
pictures, I really feel like making it really fast.
Yeah, I mean, you should do that. Obviously, Ranikhet to Munsiari, it's the roads do get a little, bad at some places
Yeah.
because I mean they're not really narrow, but they're not. Uh, I don't know. On a bicycle, I think it should be okay. On a
Yeah, I mean,
motorbike,
yeah. I mean, I was
yeah.
just wanting to know if it's paved or gravel. Accordingly, I'll take the right kind of tire with me because,
No,
you know,
it's most is paved. I would say
okay.
maybe 95% is paved.
Oh, okay. So then it's okay. Otherwise, I have to take slightly fatter tires to take the gravel. So, yeah, okay. Good, yeah, lovely pictures and
Yeah.
must have
Thank
been
you.
quite an adventure.
Yeah.
A question that is addressed both to Vikram and to Dhruv. Like Vikram did his trip on a motorcycle in the Himalayas, and Dhruv has also bicycled in the Himalayas. So, like, is it easier to do it on a bike, Vikram? Like, what do you say?
No, but easier as in what? Like, easier as compared to what?
As compared to a bicycle?
Well, obviously, I mean, but I think a bicycle is more fun because I've done small bicycle trips, not as long as what Dhruv is planning, but I've done small bicycle trips, which is I've done Manali to Rohtang Pass and back. It was a day trip, and I could not really reach till the top of Rohtang Pass because I'd gotten shit tired. Uh, I've done Khardungla to Leh, but I've done only the because I've gone to Khardungla on a jeep and on a bicycle and came back to Leh. So I've done these kind of things. Bicycle, I think it would be more fun because as I was talking about closed spaces, on a car it's like really closed. On a motorbike, because of the helmet, it's still closed. On a bike, because of that small helmet, it's like totally open. I would
So,
still say like your 360-degree views only get like I would say that on a car you get a 90-degree view, on a motorcycle you get a 180-degree view, on a bicycle you get 270-degree, and 360 when you're walking.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. Um, it's really fun on a bicycle, but yes, the climbs are absolutely punishing, especially if you're carrying gear,
Hmm.
and the descents are worth the climb.
Yeah.
So yes, when you're coming down really fast, it's really beautiful. Um, but yeah, I think one advantage with the motorcycle is that you can cover a larger distance in one day. So if you've got 4 days off from work, you can actually cover, 600 700 kilometers if you ride 150 200 kilometers a day. Whereas on a bicycle, you can just about cover 1/4 of that in
Yeah.
5 days.
Yeah. So
So
bicycle
yeah,
obviously need time.
yeah, you need a lot of time, and somehow in city life you don't get that kind of time. So the trips are very micro. They are across limited geographical areas, and they take much more time to prepare. Even motorcycling. I mean, I worked in Royal Enfield for a year, and I was seeing a lot of expeditions go by. But yeah, it's tough. It's not easy planning a motorcycle expedition either. It's pretty complex actually.
Thanks, Dhruv. Thanks, Vikram. And I do hope both of you will team up and maybe do a joint trip.
Yeah, why not? Maybe one day.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure. Maybe Dhruv, I can also get my bike, and I because I do write on. I'm an auto journalist, so I can probably get my friend along who can who can ride a Fortuner. So any climbs which are like punishing, we can make it them easier by.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Sure, sure. Why not?
Yeah,
Anytime.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Somewhere in the Kamau Hills would be good fun.
yeah.
You know,
Sure.
Haldwani to Aniket or something like that. It's not
Yeah,
so
yeah.
bad.
Sure.
Great,
And
lovely, lovely
Vikram, you
meeting
will
you.
be,
Yeah.
yeah, Vikram, you will be happy to see Clifton Shipway has actually joined. So we will talk to him as soon as he's
Okay.
online
Yeah, yeah.
with his video. Like another question addressed to Vikram, like you are into like feature writing already, and you have been writing for so long. So have you never thought about like documenting your experience in the form of a book?
Not really. I've not really thought, and one reason I would give you is that obviously I have all the material ready because whatever I've written, it's somewhere stored in my laptop. It's stored on the internet. It's stored in my mails and all. But one of the reasons I've not thought about is because I'm just simply enjoying. I haven't thought of doing it for a reason other than self pleasure. That is the only reason I travel.
So like same question addressed to
I'm
Dhruv,
glad.
like
Really glad.
uh, yeah, same
Thank you.
question addressed to Dhruv. Dhruv, you have written two books. So
Yes.
does the fact that you have to like keep some records, and does it take something away from the experience?
Uh,
Does it distract
Yeah.
you?
no, it doesn't distract. It depends on your the one's own philosophy about traveling, right? So there is a whole segment of travelers who feel that don't waste time taking pictures, just enjoy the moment, enjoy the sunset. Because a lot of people who also travel like to take photographs, that they set up the equipment, and sometimes they lose themselves in the technicality rather than enjoying the moment. So yes, that does happen sometimes where you don't savor the moment for what it is, and you're busy setting up the shot, right? But from a travel, I think it's good to share travel experiences with people because it inspires so many, and it inspires other people to explore responsibly. And it's also about, I think, the history of mankind. I mean, you just add a page to it. So if it were not for the great books of our written by travelers hundreds of years, over hundreds of years, we would not know what travel is all about. But I think
Yeah.
so one just adds one little page of ours in this lifespan to add to the growing archives of human history in a way, the footprints of history. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, that's a different perspective. And welcome, Clifton. Can you please unmute yourself? We would like to listen to you.
Hi, yeah, I'm Clifton. Nice to meet you guys. Friend of Vikram as well, and
Yeah.
fellow rider.
Yeah, just yesterday I was actually watching a video of the trip to the Everest base camp, which Vikram had shared on LinkedIn, and I watched it yesterday. The video was beautiful, and we are really happy to have you today in the show. Although, like Vikram has finished his presentation, we are having a round of discussion and question and answers.
Yeah, great to be here.
Okay. And Vikram, in case you decide to go ahead with the book, because you said you already have the material, we do have some editors in the participants list. Jyotirmay Chaudhary, who has actually edited one of the first book for Dhruv Bogra, Grit, Gravel and Travel, which it's a very thick book.
Okay. Sure. I'll think about it. I mean, I obviously have the material ready. This year I'll anyway do as much travel as possible because once the offices restart, then there's a problem of taking a leave from office. Now you can work from anywhere. So I just realized that if I can work from anywhere, I can be anywhere.
Yeah,
So let me
yeah.
travel as much as possible this year and create as much material as possible, and then probably maybe documenting in some or the other way.
Oh,
I've got all the photos, and in fact, this art I've learned from Clifton, because Clifton has got so much of material. So when I met him a year and a half ago, even I thought that I need to, because obviously there's a lot of data with us guys, but we don't really know what to do with that data. So I last 1 year, I during lockdown, I spent just analyzing that data, whatever the best use I can make of it. And thank you, Clifton, for that.
I think Jyotirmoy would be able to answer it because he has worked on a travel book already. So Jyotirmoy, Vikram has a lot of data. What he should do?
Get Dhruv to tell him. Dhruv is the one who wrote the book. But uh, like interesting in Dhruv's book, I remember when we were working, I saw, see, there was supposedly this software apps which track runners and cyclists, and I forgot the name of that app. But it was interesting. So there was some data which I thought, maybe there was a problem in the sort of text. So he would immediately go to that app, and it's already been a year and a half that he's back in India. But in that app, at a certain moment in Peru, what was the altitude he could tell? So it's interesting how data was used there. So of course, we didn't do any charts or anything there in a sense. But it was occasionally on websites and stuff like that, I suppose, data and all. And those would be interesting only for, really people who are interested in cycling, traveling, that sort of thing. For most of us other guys, we are just interested in the story, the passion of it all, like the way you were talking, the vignettes you're showing, sort of thing. And all those hypes and all, some bits of facts with, that ooh effect, that, he has been so high, or he has been there, or she has been there, that sort of thing. But otherwise, hard data, as you're saying, in terms of, I don't know,
So Jyotirmoy,
produce that,
yeah.
that sort of thing.
Dhruv, any comments on that? What he needs to do with a lot of data that he has, how to turn it into a book, if he
Yeah,
decides to go ahead.
what's really
What
useful,
by data?
what's really useful with data is
Ah,
that data is sitting in various places. We don't even realize it. It's sitting on a Google Maps timeline. If it's on, it's sitting in maybe like various type of app you may be using. For
Yeah, yeah.
cycling and running, we use Strava, for example.
Strava.
Uh,
Yeah, that was the
yeah.
app. Yeah, you
So
should.
and all
Uh,
the data is also sitting if you're regular with maybe your Instagram posts and your Facebook posts.
uh,
So what I used to do on my journey is that I used to put up like a post on Facebook, but only to myself. So every day I had a post to myself. Some days I didn't feel like sharing with everybody. So when I was able to then roll back to each part of my journey and look at the photographs and the story I'd posted, and those stories then became nuggets in the chapter or in the book. The fourth thing is, a photograph blog. So if you join a blog like SmugMug or something, it's arranged by date. It's arranged, and if you're timely in uploading it, then you have the whole sequence of your travel, maybe over the last 5 years or 3 years in one
Yeah.
sequence.
Yeah.
And then you can actually relate back to stories and people and places. Remember the name of the restaurant. But I think what I really
ah,
found very useful when I had to really jog my memory was Google Maps timeline. It would tell me exactly on which day, which restaurant I ate at on the highway.
Yeah, yeah,
ah.
yeah.
So that was incredible piece of knowledge for me from a data point of view. And of course, then the stories are already ahead with the pictures. So I use the story, I use the maps timeline, the photograph, and the
Mm.
Facebook post to triangulate the story for what I want to tell.
Yeah,
That's how
even
I.
these days, sorry to interrupt. Even these days, the geotagging in photographs and being able to tag photographs helps me as a photographer to collect my data. I have a terrible memory, but I'm excellent at taking notes, and so without that, I'd be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's good to keep a logbook when you're traveling.
Thanks, Dhruv, for your inputs. And we have Deepti from Sri Lanka joining us, and Mr. Devanand Paul from Bangladesh, and Clifton from Banbasa. in Uttarakhand. Clifton, before we end the session, I would like if you can share something about that trip to the Everest base camp, because you were the official photographer, like Vikram just told us. So, and in the video also yesterday I saw you, like you park your bike and then you are taking photographs. So, can you share your experience of that trip?
Yeah, sure. So I've been into automotive photography for quite a few years now, and particularly adventure photography. I also work with National Geographic International as a technical director for the photocamp section. But this journey, I think Vikram will agree, was so much more than just about A to B. It was more than just about traveling from our relative homes to Tibet and back again. It was a journey that took us so much more than just miles and kilometers. It was about overcoming each of our own personal obstacles. So for some people, it was distance from family. It was sort of the remoteness. Even WhatsApp and Facebook didn't work. So there was, even on a psychological level, there was this disconnection from the rest of the world. For those who were religious, we couldn't carry religious items. We couldn't carry flags of other countries. It was literally entering into this completely unknown disconnect. There was nothing to it. And then you add to that the complications of altitude and climate and just general struggle, the change in diet, and it became one of the most incredible adventures of my life. It was truly magnificent, and as this sort of ultimate cherry on top, the group that we were with just melded and bonded so wonderfully, and we became brothers in an instant. And I think Vikram has just been and stayed with me a few weeks back, and our relationships. I've ridden with a lot of people, and some of them I've maintained relationships with, but each one of the guys who were on this ride, we've maintained relationships together. We regularly chat together in our WhatsApp group, which is how I found this, this Zoom call right here. And I think so often people get confused about adventure trips like this, about motorcycle trips, or it can be with the car too. That it's often the greatest adventures happen after the ride. That these rides are a start to something. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's the inspiration of the next journey, or whether it's inspiring new habits or new sort of adventures and that type of thing. So, yeah, it was an incredibly powerful journey, and it's been wonderfully captured in film. For those who haven't seen it, it's on Royal Enfield's YouTube channel, and it's really definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, I think Vivek, Mr. Vivek, I think you should. I'll send you the link which you can share with the participants here.
Yeah, sure, I will. I watched the video yesterday. It's an awesome video, and already like 600 plus comments on the video. And Clifton's Hindi was enjoyable, so maybe he can give us a sample. He has lived in India long enough.
मेरे एक्चुअली 17 साल हो गया इंडिया में, तो अगर मेरे पास अगर मैं हिंदी में कुछ बोल नहीं सकती तब तो बहुत प्रॉब्लम होगा. एक्चुअली तो मेरे नानी जी तो 1944 में तो इंडिया में आया, तो उसी समय से तो मेरे फैमिली तो इंडिया में है. तो मैं एक्चुअली 2004 में आया परमानेंटली, बट उससे पहले 2-3 साल के लिए तो मैंने इंडिया में रहा. बट अब तो मैं इंडिया में परमानेंटली रहता हूँ, और मेरी वाइफ भी इंडियन है, बच्चे भी इंडियन है, मेरे पास 3 लड़के हैं. So in Hindi's kind of become, I think it was maybe by the 5th or 6th year I started to dream in Hindi. And I naturally, when I'm counting things, if I'm counting, whatever I'm counting, I start counting in Hindi, sometimes switch to a little bit of English, but then go back to Hindi. So it's just become part and parcel of who I am now. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was great, Clifton. And it's just like, I'm just thinking maybe we should do a session on that particular trip. And as many members of that team, if they can join, it would be great. And Dhruv has a question about that Everest base camp trip. He's asking whether the road goes through China. Does the motorable road to Everest base camp go via China?
So the road passes it goes from Nepal straight into Tibet, which is now Tibet Autonomous Region of China. So since China has annexed Tibet. Technically, it is China, and you have to be very careful when you're over there, in particular, how you refer to Tibet. I think, Vikram, we were instructed to call it the Tibet Autonomous Region of China, I believe was the exact words we were told to call it. So,
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it doesn't pass through the mainland of China, the road. It goes straight from Nepal into Tibet itself.
Okay. Thanks.
And one of their team members, I forgot the name. He actually rode from Bangalore to Kathmandu.
Yes, that was Siddharth Pathak. He rode all the way from Bangalore to Kathmandu, and just before he arrived in Kathmandu, he had a crash. Some guys stepped out on the road in front of him. He dropped his motorbike and ended up breaking his foot and tearing a ligament as well. So when he came into the hotel that night, he was my roommate, and oh no, sorry, not on that night. He wasn't my roommate yet, but we met just as he arrived, and he confided in me that he was pretty sure he had a pretty serious injury, but he wasn't going to let anyone know because he'd ridden 14 kilometers already with the injury, and he felt he could ride the next 1400. So we just kind of kept it quiet and carefully observed him the first few days. And, you know, it was only when he got back home to Bangalore that he realized the seriousness of his injuries.
Okay, Clifton. Another question from Deepthi. Did you interact with people in the region when you were on that journey in the Tibet Autonomous Region?
Yeah, Vikram, I'm sure. So I'm kind of laughing about this because it's really strange. The first town that you enter into in Tibet is this. I don't know quite how. It's almost like a Hollywood set where the buildings are all there, the facilities are all there, but the people aren't. And as you continue further into Tibet, you see it over and over again, these almost photocopies of what resembles life, but it doesn't have humanity within it. And it's almost like China is trying to present this front of Tibet being this populated, advanced place, but there's nothing there. It's this hollow shell. And when you dig a little under it, you realize that the rooms are empty. There's very little actual life to it. So while we did have some interactions with people, there were very few. It was very sparsely populated. Even if the towns were big, even if there was vending machines and park benches and street lights and traffic lights, there were very few people to actually utilize those facilities. So yeah, it was a rather odd experience for all of us, and it kind of felt, it was a little daunting, a little, you know, if you've watched any horror or sci-fi movies, you kind of felt like you were stepping into a scene where maybe you were going to get abducted or something. It was rather nerve-wracking.
Yeah. So anyone from the audience, any questions before we close? Any comments, questions? Reena Singh, you were mentioning something about your trip.
Oh, well, I went trekking back in 1979, the year I finished my graduation. In fact, it was a whole lot of us from college, and we went through the, I think, Youth Hostels Association of India. In those days, there were not even proper shoes available in India. And the organizers had told us to get, army hunters, those army canvas shoes, and they were not available in my size in Delhi. So, but I found them in Kishtwar. The organizer says, no problem. Kishtwar market has everything because all the locals wear these hunters. And they're available in children's sizes as well as in adults. So my size was 4 and I happily got them there. So that was one memory. Of course, we had no mobile phones and no color cameras in those days. So we just have a handful of photographs. But yes, I remember the sceneries, I remember the experiences, and as Vikram said, you won't forget it even 50 years later. Well, here's an example. I haven't forgotten it, I think, 42 years later. So I went when I was 19 and a half, and I'm now, 61 plus. So definitely an experience worth doing. I think if these young guys are lucky, they're in good shape and they can probably do it year after year. So they're really lucky.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Reena. Reena, in fact, will be presenting our Sunday session tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., which is about the world of newspapers and deadlines and all the excitement that is involved in producing a newspaper. So we will see her tomorrow. Anyone else with a question, comment, feedback? Divya, Munjal, Deepti, anyone?
No, sir. The session was wonderful. I really enjoyed the chat between Vikram and Dhruv, and it will be a good experience if both of them can go somewhere together and then present something for us. And Vikram, we will look forward to have your book in the market, and
Sure.
definitely you will do wonders with that.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you so
Naveen.
much for presenting this session.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Clifton himself can write a book. It's about his father's experiences running the school. Super. It's really a great story.
Yeah, and that will be the icing on the cake will be the trip to the Everest Base Camp. I think that trip itself deserves a book.
Maybe I'll have to have someone ghostwrite it for me. I've got too many miles ahead still to do.
Okay, okay. Okay, thanks everyone. Thanks Clifton for joining. Thanks Vikram for keeping us enthralled for more than an hour. And we really look forward to a session on the Everest Base Camp trip. And it will be good to have.
Vivek, they mentioned there's a video. Is it on YouTube? I'd like to watch it.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. I have shared it in the ICF Travel Diaries group.
Right.
If you're not in the group, I will send it to you like on your WhatsApp number.
Maybe you can just search for Royal Enfield Everest Base Camp ride on YouTube, and it will show up. It's on the official channel.
It's on the Royal Enfield official YouTube channel. So it's the latest video.
Yeah, in just
because in Colombo, where I live, there's a group of Enfield enthusiasts. So maybe I can share it with them as well.
Yeah, Deepti is in Sri Lanka, and she was previously was associated with the travel industry also. And it's good for all of us to keep building the community. That's what all our sessions the objective is: learn and enrich our lives with the experiences of others who have gone where we have still to go. Like they can be our guide and help us with their experience. So thank you all of us. See you again next Saturday, where we will have a international guest. She is from Japan, Priyanka Borpujari, and she is going to tell us about how do you prepare for a 1200-kilometer walk across India. So we have done a motorcycle series, we have done a bicycle series, now we are going to be on foot. How to prepare for a 1200-kilometer journey across India. She did the Out of Eden walk with Mr. Paul, who is a two-time Pulitzer Award winner, and she works from Japan. So we will have her next Saturday at 4 p.m. And Clifton just wanted to share that we did a session with Jono Linin, who is from the head of the National Museum of Australia.
Okay.
He was part of our series.
It's interesting, Vivek. I actually have worked with Paul Solopek as well. So Paul has come here and spent time with me just year before last and worked with some of my students here in Banbasa. So there's another connection there.
Yeah, so that means we will certainly have you in our next session. I will ask Vikram to maybe share your number with me so that I can send you the link.
Sure.
It will be great. The world is a small place. That's how we all connect with each other. Okay, then have a nice evening, all of you. It was great to have you all.